Hello, welcome back to the Mobile Motorbike Mechanic channel. I'm Steve. Today we're off to Northampton to go and look at a Lexmoto, I think it's a Lexmoto Venom 125. Customer's given us a call. He's got a problem with the clutch. So we'll see you when we get there. Right folks, here we are with the Lexmoto Venom 125. So the customer said it's got a bit of an issue with the clutch. So we can see that's absolutely solid, the arm's not moving at all, there's no free play in that whatsoever. But the cable's very loose, so we're a little bit concerned there. And if you come around here and have a look at the lever, on the lever end, you can see that it's just flapping around, not actually operating at all. So if we kick the bike into gear, we've just got nothing at all. So don't know what's happening there. It's like the clutch is constantly being pulled in. So what we'll do is we'll get this one apart, we'll have a look at it, and yeah, we'll go from there. Right, so first things first, because we're taking this engine cover off, we're going to have to drop the oil, because as soon as you take this off, obviously the oil's going to come out. So we'll drop the oil and we'll remove this little belly pan, and then we can get this engine cover off. So 17, I think. Right, quite handy on these bikes because we've got the centre stand. Helps drain the oil out. There we go. Okay, so that's not a 10, that should be a 10 because that's a 10. So okay, we've got a weird bolt in there. We've got the right bolt in there. So I'm going to have to go and get another tool. Okay, yep, that's a 12. I don't know why we've got a 12 in there, but there we go. The reason why I'm taking this little belly pan off is because when you take this cover off, you don't want any oil dripping down on the inside of this belly pan, and it just gives you a little bit more access, you see, when it drops out of the way. So just need to undo that bolt around the other side. That's most of the engine oil out now, so we may as well start undoing the bolts on the engine case. So this is the customer's first bike, and he's sort of learning to do stuff himself on it as well, but he's come up against a problem on this one, so that's why he's called us. So if we just loosen off all of these, oh, that's a weird bolt in there, that's not the right one. I'm gonna have to go get a different tool for that one. Oh bloody hell, I'm dropping that as well. There we go. Right, yeah, someone's banged in an Allen bolt in there, I don't know why. Let's go get an Allen key. Not only has somebody banged in an Allen bolt, but I've just noticed when I get this out, you're going to have a laugh. And it's had, oh, I've just dropped that. Look at the amount of washers on there to try and pack it out. So I've used completely the wrong bolt and they've banged a load of washers on. Anyway, we can sort that out. Never mind. Right, let's get it apart. Right, so just before we take these last two bolts out, we're just going to undo the clutch cable. And just slacken it off. Just if there's any pressure on that and you undo the bolts, the whole lot's just going to rattle around, and we don't want that. So there we go, that's the clutch cable undone now. We can take these last two bolts out. So that's all the bolts out, clutch cable released, and we should just pull that off. There we go, lovely. Look at that. Wonderful. So, clutch. All appears to be good. Yeah, alright, there's nothing untoward in there really that I'm seeing. So I think the problem might actually be with the release arm, because you see how tight that is in there, and that should not be. That should be easily moving, and it very clearly is not easily moving. So I think what we're going to do, we've got a replacement gasket, so we'll get rid of that one. Pop that on my mat over there. We'll get this arm out and we'll see what's going on, but I think there's going to be a build-up of corrosion inside the engine case just here, which is why this arm doesn't want to move. But yeah, I think we've found our cause. We've just removed the return spring on the bottom of the shaft, and we've got to get this roll pin out here. So I don't know if you can focus in on that. You see there's a tiny little split in it. So it's just a roll pin, that it's like a sprung pin. So we've got to knock that out of that shaft in order to be able to get this out of the engine case. So it's tight. So what we're going to do is we're going to go in. We've got a tiny little pin punch there. We're just going to go in the back and we're just going to knock that out and drift that pin out. So what we're going to do is line up that with the pin and just hopefully support it against the side of the van there. There we go. Just drift the pin out, and that's your little roll pin. You can see there's like a split in it all the way down. So it's actually it's like sprung steel. So don't lose that. But now we've got that out, we can try, oh, bloody hell, try our damnedest to get this out. It's just a question of forward and backward, and hopefully it'll come out. It's a bit awkward to hold, to say the least. Yeah, very awkward to hold. Come back to us in a minute. Yeah, you can see the corrosion on the shaft there. So it's just there we go. Woo! Right, and there we go. Yeah, these two little O-ring seals, they've just corroded. So what we'll get them lubed up, get them cleaned up, get them lubricated, and then we can do the same on the hole on the case, get that all cleaned up, and get it all back together again, and hopefully it'll be a bit easier to turn. God, that was a struggle. Okay, so a bit of red rubber grease on that, clean it all up. That's all nicely greased now, and then we just need to get into the engine case here and just give it a run through. Let's see if any rubbish comes out of there. There's a tiny little bit, so all I'm going to do is get a rasp out of my toolbox there. In you go. Right, if we just get a rasp and very carefully, we don't want to go mad on this, but if we very carefully, with a small rasp, a small file, and we don't want to take anything off the case, but we just want to clean up the rubbish that's in that hole. So very, very light pressure. Like I say, we don't really want to take anything off the case at all. And we're putting all fresh oil in anyway, so people will be going, oh, you're going to contaminate the oil. Ooh. Yeah, whatever. There we go. Right, that's looking a lot better in there now. So if we just drop this shaft back in, yeah, one finger, look at that. So much better, and that's what it should be like. So we just need to refit this little spring here back on the shaft, so it just goes in like that, loops over that pin that we've refitted, and then you've got to grab the other end of it and bring it up over this tang here, which is a bit of a bugger. So like that, there we go, that's it fitted, and now as you can see it's returning under its own pressure. So it's exactly how we want it. That's how it's fitted there. So that's looking much better. Right, I'm going to wash that case out with some brake clean. So we'll do that, and then we'll start on this clutch basket. But let me wash this out first. So that's any contaminants that we might have introduced from filing that hole sorted. It's very, very difficult to see, but on the bottom of here there's actually a little bit of either instant gasket or an old gasket, but if you start picking at it, you see it's coming away. So what I'll do is I'll get a Stanley blade and just very, very carefully run a Stanley blade along all of the edges just to make sure that they're all flat. We've also got the dowels that locate with one missing, but the customer's got a couple of extras, so we'll refit that for him. But yeah, so that's a cause of a possible leak there, so we need to clean that up. Moving on, engine case is all done and cleaned. Moving on to the clutch. Now what I've noticed already, that clutch is doing nothing at all. So that clutch should be absolutely solid, all bound up, so you shouldn't be able to move these plates. So what we're going to do is we're just going to disassemble this clutch. Watch out for the bits that fall out. Okay, so just undo these 5 and then we can have a look and see what's going on with this. Now this might be a bit of a bugger because, as you can see, it moves. So I'm going to have to get something to hold one of them while I'm undo one of them. In order to get this apart, I'm going to pop that on there. It's, actually, if we're in gear, hang on a second, I'm being stupid. There's a surprise, eh? If we put it in gear and we spin, yeah, okay. So what I can do, so we've just put the bike in gear. What I can do is I can hold it on the rear brake. And there we go. We can undo the bolts, which are not very done up anyway. Right, there we go. And now we can take apart the clutch basket. Right. Ooh. So the centre of this clutch, ideally you just want to take the pressure off on a couple of the bolts at a time. You can see the whole thing starting to walk out. I'd actually forgotten that when I undid the first one, so that's why I'm doing it now. In order to get this one out, we are going to have to remove this little fella here as well. So if you have a look in there, you'll see there's a nut in there, and the nut doesn't have edges, it's just got 4 slots. So we'll have to go and get our special tool. Special tools for getting apart these nuts. Can't remember if it was that one. That one doesn't really fit, so no. Is it this one? Nope. So it must be that one then. Yeah, that's the one. Okay. It should be standard left-hand thread. There you go. Happy days. So, washer in there. There you go, you see. So like I say, it's not like a normal nut, and then your special tool fits into it like that. So circlip pliers, and we just pop them in. Oop. Ah, come on. Sometimes you can spend hours trying to get a circlip out, and other times it'll come straight out. I have a feeling this one's going to be, because I'm on film, it's going to take me bloody hours. There he goes. Right, don't lose that. And now we can take this part of the clutch out, and we can see what the issue is. Right, yeah, I can see what the problem is. Okay, these teeth on the back of this plate, they actually go into, if I take all of this off, bum 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 bum, they go into this rear plate. So those two, you see how they fit together nicely? And what was happening was that had been fitted one, there you go, it had been fitted like that, so it wasn't sitting right. So it was almost there but not quite, so it needs to sit like that, so it needs to be clocked, and that's what the problem was. So what we can do, we can refit that in the back there and put all of our clutch plates and clutch discs back in. Bum 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 bum. And what we need to do really is refit it all as a clutch pack. So this is where it's going to take a little while. Hang on, let's do it this way. So metal disc, and another metal disc. You see how the teeth connect into those? And metal disc, and metal disc, and then ba-da-ba-dum. So that first disc is offset to all the rest of them. And if we just grab the back of that, and when that goes together, you see that's not, there we go, sat down lovely. So that's your clutch pack, and now we can fit that into the bike. It's going to be a pain, this is. I don't know which way around to do it, which way is for the best. She's going. Whoop. Come on. In you go. There he goes. Right. Now that, you see, even though that's sloppy, it's properly in. Right. Now we can get the rest of it back together again. Do-do-do-do. Oop. Click. Little trick for new players: if you're trying to get a circlip in and you're not too sure if it's in correctly, just grab one of the ears and just spin it around. If it spins around, you know it's in the hole, you know, in the groove on the shaft. So now we can get the rest of this back together again. Now 5 bolts on, 5 springs on. Doesn't actually matter which way around these go, as long as you just got 5, all of them fitted. And you don't want to be using any power tools on this, because if you feel anything untoward, hang on, I've noticed something. We have a washer. That one's got a washer on. 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 That one doesn't have a washer on. That's why we check. Now it's got a washer on. Right. Now we can do it up. So just a couple of turns and move on to the next one. A couple of turns and then move on to the next one. You know, we're doing every other one when we do it up. So I'm not going around in a circle as such. We're going around in a circle but missing that one, coming over to this one. So once we've got a couple of turns on that one, miss that one onto that one. And that way you're pulling it all down, miss that one onto that one. You're pulling it all down nice and sort of even, walking it down. Because if you put too much pressure on one bit, there's a tendency that this plate can snap. So that's the reason why we're just doing every other one, slowly walking it down. Now something isn't right there. Oh yeah, maybe it is. Maybe it is. Maybe it's just me. I was just looking at it. There we go. That's better. Oop. Right. Now, if we grab that clutch pack, see the whole thing moves in one. It's not sloppy. So we're happy with that now. Right. So, if we try and move the back wheel, it shouldn't, fingers crossed, move. There we go. So the clutch is engaged. So now if we pop it into neutral, yeah, happy days. Okay. We just need to whistle all the rest of it back together again. That's all that back together again. As you can see, that's actually turned the engine over. Not much compression on these little engines. There we go. Cool. Happy days. Okay, time to get the engine case back on again. Oh, hang on a minute. I've noticed something I've forgotten. Where are the clutch internal parts? They must be under here. Yep, there they are. Ba-da-ba-dum. Pop them back in. There we go. Right, so yeah, we can get the engine case back on again. Get a sump plug back in it. Get some oil in it. Let's go get a new sump plug washer for that as well. And then we'll fire it up and see what happens. We can now get this one back together again. We've just put the sump plug in with a new washer, so there's the old washer there. Collection of old parts over there. So what we're going to do is pop the engine dowels in. So there's one in the back there, and there's one in the front there. And those dowels will also hold our gasket in place. So we can put them on there and put it on there. And there you go, easy as that. and then you're not messing around trying to get engine cases on and stuff like that. It's the easiest way of doing it. So now we've got our repaired clutch release ready to go. Just one thing, if you look in here, right here, there's a cutout on the shaft. Okay, and that cutout must line up with this dowel here. All right, so when we go to fit it on, if we have a look, we just make a note that that arm points towards this bolt hole here. We'll then be able to get that on there without too much of a problem, he says, hopefully. So let's give it a go. So we'll line it up, and then we want to rotate our arm around, and on she goes. And you'll see that that feels right. There's a bit of play in there. That feels right. If I let that off, ooh, I was going to say normally they spring off slightly, but I think that's gripped on the dowels quite nicely. So I'll keep a hand on there whilst I pop a couple of bolts in. Now, I didn't particularly pay attention taking these bolts out, but I think they are all the same size, apart from our monster one that we've got. But they appear to be all the same size, so we'll just run a couple in. Try and do this one-handed, it's not very clever. I didn't prepare myself here very well, did I? There we go. So we just want to, we don't want it to go tightening anything up, we just want to hold things in place. Let's just check the length of these bolts. Hang on a second. Oh, they are different lengths. Okay. Bear with me a moment, because everything I've just said is a lie. If you didn't pay attention when you were taking the bolts out, and you're not sure which bolt goes in which hole, like me, a good way of doing it is not to go fanging all the bolts in. But you just want to run a bolt in, and if it looks about right and feels about right, it normally is right. Or the proper way you should do it is go and have a look at the go and have a look online at the microfiche for the bike. Right, I think we've got all the bolts back in the right holes, so we'll just pop those two back in again quickly with our machine. There we go. Right. Oh, we need to do this one as well. So I'll see if I've got a different bolt for that. Right, we've got a selection of bolts here. So this is one of my spares out my box, and I think that's going to fit just nicely, which it is. There we go. Lovely job. Right, I'll steal that one, but at least they're all the same in there now. Cool. Right, quick clean with a bit of brake cleaner to get the residue oil off, and we need to adjust the clutch cable, and then we can get the oil in it, fire it up. Okay, with the engine case all back together again, we just want to adjust this clutch cable. So we're just going to leave it finger tight for now. We're just trying to pull all of the slack out of it. We've already pulled the adjuster at the handlebar end right back as well. So that's our major adjustment done. So if we just keep an eye on this whilst I pull the clutch in gently, it's moving, which it wasn't doing before. We're not hearing any nasty clunks or bangs or rattles in there, which is good. And we've got a clutch lever at the handlebar end, so that's fine. Now we can just do some minor adjustment up here, just to get a couple of mil of play in the cable, like that. And we'll lock that off. There you go, a couple of mil of play in the cable. So that feels and sounds good. So what we'll do, we'll pop the bike into gear and pull the clutch in, and there we go. And as we release the clutch, it bites, it locks up. So there we go, clutch is working exactly as it should again. Right, that's good news. So we can just lock off these two nuts here, and then I think they were 12 mil. Yeah, they were 12 and a 12. We'll get some oil back in the engine and we'll give it a test. There we go, that's all locked off solid. Still moves, lovely. Right, we'll get some oil back in this, come back in a second. Okay, let's start this up, see if the clutch works. There we go, into gear, clutch is in. That looks to be working to me. That's brilliant. So, let's just see if it slips. No, that's not going to slip, that's already, yeah, that's fine. Okay. There we go. So, that's this one done. Clutch is all back together again. Like I say, we filled it up with oil. All happy days. Doesn't appear to be leaking at all. We can see the gasket all the way around. Everything's sorted. So remember to like, comment and subscribe, and we'll see you again on the next video.